Hi there, welcome to another video in our fire series. Today I'm going to talk about another material you can use with your ferro rod to start a fire. Now when you're out, you might see some of this growing. You might think, oh, I've been out in the woods all day. My wife's probably a little upset with me. Maybe I'll pick some of this and take her back a nice wilderness bouquet. Well, guess what? Don't do that, because this does not count as flowers. But what we can do with this instead is start a fire. Now, if some of this is goldenrod that you'll see, in the summertime it's pretty easy to tell. I mean, it looks like these weeds grown out in the meadow, but they got nice yellow flowers on them. In the wintertime they die off, but they're usually still standing until they get a lot of snow knocking them over. So basically when you find them, usually you find a lot of them because they're all grown out in like a open spot, and that's the only downfall, is it usually grows out in the open. So if you're out in the woods, you might not find too many of these growing. But what we're going to do is we're going to use these in our ferro rod to start a fire. Now, one of the important things I said in one of my other videos was preparation. Now, especially when you're trying to get a fire going in a survival situation, you want to take some time and prep your materials. You have to remember, the more times you fail, the more tired you're going to get and the more discouraged you're going to get. So if you put a little bit into it in the beginning, prep your materials a little better, maybe get that fire going on the first try, you'll be a lot better off. So what we're going to do here with these golden rods, and there's some other ones mixed in here, I don't really know the names of all the other ones here, but we're going to break this up into 4 different parts. The first part are the flower blossoms. Now if you look at them, they're pretty fuzzy, almost like cottony looking. So what we want to do is just kind of break them off. And we're going to keep these separate here. Now remember, don't lay these directly on the ground. They're already dry, especially if you got them when they were still standing upright, they're dry. So don't lay them down on the ground and let them soak up moisture. I have some bark here, I'm just going to lay them off to the side on that. Now the second part of this are the leaves on here. You can see there's quite a few leaves. And basically all you need to do, depending on where they're starting, is just drag your hand up here, and you can usually catch them in your hand, or do them over top of a piece of bark or something and just do them down onto that. Now the next part of this are the small ends here, which are some real small limbs on this. So we're going to keep those, we're going to break those off, keep them separate. And then what we have left is the bigger stick. Now we're going to keep these off to the side here. So it takes, like I said, it takes a little bit to prepare these. You want to make sure that you collect quite a few of them, and you want to make sure, especially with the leaves, whenever you're pulling them off, a lot of times they go all over the place and grind up into dust. So maybe do it over top of what you want to, or something to collect it on. Now, I went ahead and I already cleaned off a bunch of these so that we didn't have to go through that. So let's lay these over here. So the first part that we want are the big sticks that we had left over. Now I collect this, you can see this is about how many I collected and prepared, you know, getting the leaves off, getting the flowers, blossoms off, and then getting the smaller stems off of there. So this took me probably 15-20 minutes or so. Like I said, I wanted to be careful I didn't lose a lot of the leaves. You'll probably want something this big at least, maybe a little bit bigger, depending on what the other conditions are. Another thing that you might want for these bigger sticks is a piece of cordage. Now for this I just have some 48 bank line that I untwisted, so I got 3 pieces of it. Basically what I'm going to do is just tie a quick loop in the end. Now you're going to use this to tie up this bundle, and once you start your fire, this is actually going to burn up. So if you don't have the cordage to spare, make sure you don't waste your cordage on this. You can do it without tying it up, it just makes it a little bit easier. So I just put a loop in the end of that. And what I'm going to do with these is I'm just going to kind of stand up here. I'm just going to kind of bend them over my knee. They probably are going to break depending on what kind of condition they're in, but they didn't break the whole way, and that's what the cordage is for, just to kind of hold this together. But if you can see, what I kind of tried to do was create like a little pocket in here, and that's where we're going to put some of this other material. So I'm going to just lay this down here on the end, Like I said, you can manage without the cordage, but it makes it a lot easier when you're trying to handle this thing, especially after you get some flame in there and you want to pick this thing up. It's going to make it a little bit easier if you have it all tied together here. You don't have to do anything fancy. Like I said, it's in the end, it's just going to burn up. Hopefully, if you get your fire going, it will. Okay, so let's set this aside for a second. So the next part we want are the little branches, or the little stems that we broke off up at the top. These are real fine, small material. So we're going to take this, we're going to kind of stick it in here. We want to make, basically what we're trying to do is kind of making a bird's nest or a tinder bundle out of this stuff. So we want to make it layered in here, and that's what we want to do. And what we're doing is putting it bigger and then smaller and smaller and smaller, because once we get it going, we're going to actually flip it over, and so it's going to burn up through it into the bigger pieces. Now, here are the tops that I kept, and there's a reason I kept these off to the side. For the dried leaves, which are what we're going to try to get our spark into, we're going to crumble these up and, you know, break them up into some more surface area. When we do that, if we just do it on here, I'll do a couple of these, basically what they're going to do is just kind of fall right down through there. So what we're going to do is take these blossoms, which they do burn well too, so we're going to stick them in here, and we're going to kind of rough them up a little bit. But what we're going to do with this is we're kind of going to use this as the holder for our leaves. Now, I have a little bit of extra cordage here, so what I'm going to do is actually tie off the little strings, or the little sticks, a little bit in here too. Now the nice thing about this goldenrod and the plants like this are they're different than grasses. I mean, they're grown out there. They're not trees, so they're not really wood, but they have these bigger ends on them, so they will burn a little longer than just a handful of dry grass. So you don't need as much of this as you would if we were trying to make a fire with the dry grasses. Okay, so I have that. Now here's the big pile of leaves that I actually collected off of these, and I'm going to kind of just shove them in there. Like I said, basically what we're doing is we're making this multi-layer bird's nest here. We want to catch our spark from our ferro rod, and then we want it to we want to turn it over then, and it'll ignite up through the rest of it. So move it over a little bit. I'm gonna try to tilt this. I'll put it this way. Try to tilt this into the camera a little bit so maybe be able to see a little better. Once I get it lit though, I'll hold it up so we can see. So let's clean up the ferro rod a little. Just like with the dried leaves and the dried grasses, we need to put a lot of sparks down in here sometimes to get this to stay burning long enough for us to pick it up and turn it over. Now I don't want to turn it over too fast or too slow, because I don't want my dried leaves to fall out of there. I did push them down in, but they're still kind of just laying on top of that. Going to try to fluff this up a little bit in here. May mix the leaves in a little bit with the blossom heads. And that's the problem with the dried leaves and stuff. It doesn't really do any good to blow on them, it usually just kind of puts them out. We just need to get, there we go. We just need to get a little bigger fire going in there. And like I said, you want to make sure that you're turning it over so that it's burning up through your bundle. Now when you're doing stuff like this, you got to be kind of comfortable with the fire. You can't be afraid of it, or else you're just going to kind of drop it and then it's going to go out. And so you have to kind of keep a hold of this so that I can get it to burn up through the whole bundle. And these will burn. These will definitely burn longer than the dried grasses or the leaves that we use in some of the other videos. There you can see it's kind of taken off now, and it's good. It's a good way to get a fire started. That'll burn for quite a while, and it'll be enough to get your smalls from your tree or your tinder, or sorry, your kindling ignited and burning. It's still, like I said, it's still burning good down there. That's about it for that. Like I said earlier in the video, make sure that you take some time and put some prep in when you're doing your fire materials, and you can never have too much. That is one thing that Dave said when we were at the classes that really stuck with me, was little fires are for messing around, big fires are for surviving. So if you're out there and you need a fire, don't worry about making it too big. Well, unless you don't want to burn the forest down. So here we go. That was a stick fire using goldenrod and some of the other I guess weeds that grow, or the flowers that grow out in the meadows. So hang around, we'll have some more videos coming up.